All right. Hello, everybody. We are here with Christopher Williams of Plastic Flame Press, and we are going to talk about art and how you got into it. So, my first question is, when did you get interested in art?
I've I was interested in art pretty much at like as far back as I can remember. Like one of my earliest memories, I grew up in Florida. My growing up in Florida really doesn't have anything to do with it, but I remember being at a table when I was really young and drawing a transformer for my parents. I wanted my parents to go back to my room. I think my mom to go back to my room and get me a particular transformer. And rather than just, we had a very small house. It was like 20 feet to, or if that, maybe 10 feet to my bedroom. But I figured it was easier for me to draw a picture of Bumblebee than to get up and just go do it myself. but
Okay.
but yeah, my mom uh, has always been an artist, and so yeah, I always wanted to do it, and I always wanted to make art, and uh, she and my dad both always encouraged me. So
Awesome.
that was a big help. Yeah.
Great, great. Well, let me ask this question. How often do you draw?
Uh, Now I draw. Uh, it pretty much every day.
Okay.
Um, yeah. For so I don't know. I don't know how in depth you want me to go on this. But,
As in depth as you
okay.
want to or feel comfortable.
Um, yeah. I I got out of drawing for a long time and kind of pulled away from art for a long time. And like when I went to college, and then again after I got out of college, I applied for a comic book grant and I didn't get it, and that kind of discouraged me, and so I stopped actively working on art. And the 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 advice always is like, the more you work at it, the better you get, and the more comfortable it is to do it. And I kind of figured like it, I used to um I used to have this thing where every once in a while, like maybe once a year, I would go out and I'd run a mile, and I'd go, "Hey, cool, I still got it." And so I kind of approached art in the same way, where every couple months I'd go back to it, I'd draw something, and I'm like, "Oh, I can still draw. Okay, cool, that's still there," and just kind of put it away. But when I tried to start doing it more, then I found out like, oh, this is tough because it's not. I haven't been working that muscle. So when I started doing gig posters back in the early 2000s, and I hadn't been actively like working on art like consistently every day, it was a it was there was a definite learning curve getting back into it. And and then the way that I did that was to I took an internship making flyers for a small club, and started doing about, on average, about 5 hand-drawn flyers a week. And I didn't have like a full-time job at the time, so it was like I would get up in the morning and I'd have a piece of typing paper, and I'd just like sketch out like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and it would take me all day to like just draw this one thing. And but now, like, uh I can show you what I was working on today. So yeah, it used to take me like an entire day to just draw this really sketchy, like kind of crude uh uh flyer, 8.5 by 11 flyer. And then like today, I don't know if this will show up or not, but
Yeah, a
um
little bit at an angle is okay. That is better. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so this is a page of a comic that I'm working on right now. And this thing with the detail and everything that I'm trying to get into it, like that took me like 20 minutes. of just like sitting there and it's like, oh, okay, cool, I got it. And so yeah, now that I when I started getting into making comic books a couple of years ago, uh, it was even harder because even though I'm doing the I've done a lot of gig posters. I made like over 1,000 gig posters. I um it doesn't have to be a consistent thing. Shows will be every couple weeks, so I don't have to draw every day. So when I started making comics, then I it kind of forced me to like, well, if I want each page to look consistent, I need to stick with it. And so so yeah, it's now I've worked it into my schedule where I get up every morning, do my crossword, and listen to some news about what's going on with Walt Disney World, and then sit there and draw for like 2 hours before I have to go and do my day job.
Okay, interesting. And actually, you showing us that that picture kind of brought up a new question. Do you do your art now more digitally with either a tablet or a computer, or do you still do old school with pen and paper? Or
Well, yeah, now I do everything. Uh, yeah, like gig posters and everything I do on this iPad. So like even I did bring a couple things. So like this is a poster that I did recently for the OCs. And like this entire thing I drew all of it on the iPad, then uh exported it to the computer and then made separations and screen printed it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm of this. I don't know if it's because of like the time when I was going through school or what, but even now, like sometimes people kind of imply that maybe using digital techniques is cheating to some degree. And so, and then back like 20 years ago when I was in college, or longer than 20 years ago, that the using computers, when I was introduced to using computers for this newer thing that was just going around called Photoshop, back when I was in high school, and I looked at it and I was like, "Who's ever going to use this? This is a fad. Like people aren't going to use computers for art. I'll do it because I have to do it for class, whatever." And so I went through college, didn't use computers. Uh, I used Paintbrush for a long time when I started doing flyers, just like the basic paint application on my Windows computer, and then eventually, like I had to start using Photoshop and Adobe stuff, and now that was one of the things I one of the one of the things that kept me from doing art consistently every day is that eh, I tend to get very impatient. So with something like working on a poster, I would sketch it, and then I'd have to ink it, and then I'd have to figure out where the color separations were. And for a comic book, I would have to sketch it and then tighten it up with pencils and then do inks. And like every additional step that I had to do, it made me less and less interested in what I was doing. So I've designed entire gig posters before, and like I don't know, whatever 50 pages of a comic book, and like gotten it through to like inks and all that, and then gone, I'm just bored with this now, and then like tossed it out. I've like gig posters, I've tossed out an entire gig poster and then sat there and redrawn a new gig poster and turned it around in a day just because I was like, well, I'm bored with it. But the that's all to say. Sorry, that the using the iPad now makes it so much easier for me to be able to like I don't have that impatience. Like I can just sit down and I can just I can make it look the way that I want it to look, like as quickly as possible. And for that reason alone, I'm like, well, that doesn't really seem like cheating. It just seems like I'm actually able to execute what I wanted to execute. So
okay, awesome. Did you have, or I should say, are there any artists that inspired you?
Um, Yeah, they're the so I in college when I when I went to college, I told them that I tried to get into the art department, and I told them that I wanted to make gig posters. And when I told them that, then they said, "Oh, you're just an undecided art major then." And uh, so I was like, "Okay, well, you know what? Then I'm not an art major. How about that?" And I figured at 18 that I would really show them, and so they didn't care. But so that's when I sort of got away from art more. But the last semester that I was in college, I took a graphic novels course, and I got introduced to the work of Jaime Hernandez, who's done I guess 40-year-old or it's still around. It's not. It's in various forms, but this comic called Love and Rockets, and Jaime's work just blew my mind, and I loved it so much. And it's this perfect, like this mature sort of Archie art. It's just it's really magical work. But yeah, that totally fueled me. And my instructor, Craig Fisher, he just lent me all of his Love and Rockets comics, and I poured through them, and then immediately like was inspired to start making art again. And then after I got out of college, was in bands, needed to make posters, still wanted to learn how to screen print. Um, because I was the other thing with the art department, you couldn't screen print until the senior year for some reason. So I was learning how to screen print, and I was trying to figure out how to use like all this inspiration to start making posters. And so um, I started finding out there was a website called gigposters.com, and started just looking through that for hours and hours. And but then I found Jay Ryan of the Bird Machine, and seeing Jay's stuff just was it was so cool. Like I had the people that had originally got me into wanting to make gig posters back when I was in high school were like Frank Kozik and Art Chantry, who were older gig poster artists, and then finding out about local gig poster artists like Casey Burns and Ron Liberty, and knowing that they were really close. So that kind of was the drive. But then to like actually be making gig posters, and it was like I was pulling, I was trying to pull. I'm not. I don't draw like Jaime Hernandez, so I was trying to pull as much influence from that as I could, while pulling a lot of influence from Jay Ryan and from Casey Burns, and kind of trying to make it into my own style.
Okay. Also, like kind of a connected question. Did you have did you have a mentor that kind of took you under their wing and helped you out, or was it just kind of your own path to what you're doing?
The so when I was in that graphic novels class, like I got to the instructor, Craig Fisher. He and I became friends, and I had taken several classes with him. But he's somebody that off and on I would kind of like call upon like in a mentor like role. When I started doing um, the gig poster work and needed help with that, then I kind of always knew that I could reach out to people like Ron Liberty and just say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do this? How do I like burn a screen or whatever?" And so yeah, it's just it. I kind of wanted that to have a mentor sort of thing for a while, but then I also have a a sincere like fear of failure, and so I didn't want to not live up to a mentor's expectations. So as soon as like eventually I got into a group of people that were all gig poster artists, and so it's been more of like just a peer sort of thing that we can bounce ideas off of each other.
Awesome. Awesome. When did you start Plastic Flame Press?
Uh, I started that, I think in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just because I got hired to screen print a poster for an indie movie, and I had already been making screen printed posters for the club over in Carborough, Cat's Cradle, that I've done a lot of work for, or most of my work for. But yeah, these people hired me to make this poster, or to print this poster for their movie, and I needed to have a business name. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that I can't like do anything with a, a very generic name of Chris Williams or Christopher Williams. So Plastic Flame was something that I referred to the Christmas lights that my dad had used in the backyard at our house growing up. And so I just said, oh, okay, Plastic Flame Press. I just put that on like a business license, and it's like, it's great. And now for 20 years, people have just called it Plastic Frame. And which, since I make art, it would make a lot more sense. But
Now, how did you get involved, or how did you hear about Threadless? And has that been a has that been a good partnership?
um, I, I knew about Threadless, like I had ordered stuff through them um, like presents and stuff like that. And then I found out about the artist shop. They sent out a solicitation about the artist shops a couple of years ago, and yeah, and so I that's I thought I think it's a pretty good idea. I mean, the um, one big thing for me has been, over the years, people have come and like when I'm selling stuff in public, or they've contacted me through email, and they want me to they'll like a poster design or an art print that I did, and then they want it on a T-shirt, or they want it in some other form, or something that I made recently for someone. They had said, "Oh, this is great, but it would we really would like it on a canvas." And it's like, oh well, I can't really I can't screen print with my setup to make, posters in my spare bedroom upstairs. Like, I can't really make like an 8 color T-shirt or something. So yeah, when the opportunity uh, arose to like go through Threadless to do it, I was like, oh, that's great, because I can actually like put stuff out there and have it on a variety of things. Like I can put a picture of my friend Chris eating sub on a skateboard. So yeah, no, I think that is great.
Awesome. And actually, one of my students had asked a question
Mhm.
that's kind of related. Do you do any, think of how you word it is, any like customizable prints? For example, like one of your t-shirt designs, if you wanted to have like his name also printed on that, would that be something that's possible? Or
Yeah, usually it's like I'll do that sort of thing for yeah, like a case by case basis. There's been stuff that I've done for people over the years that I like people have contacted me about somebody that I knew a long time ago contacted me about uh they had this shirt that they bought in somewhere in Colorado when they were a kid, and it meant a whole lot to them because they bought it on this trip with their parents, and their parents have passed, and they sent me a picture of the shirt, and from the picture of the shirt, and it was just like a thing with just like a sun kind of setting over a mountain, just a very basic like thing made out of shapes. And so from that, I was able to just kind of reconstruct it in Illustrator and I loaded it up into the shop, and I was like, I'll keep it up in the shop until you tell me that you've ordered it. As soon as you've ordered it, I'll take it down. That's just for you. But yeah, that's like I'll do lots of stuff like that. It's like a case by case thing, just because I don't know. I mean, it's I I appreciate that this is something that I'm able to do, and I I in a perfect world, in my version of a perfect world, like I get to make stuff like this just for fun. Like I just do it, and there doesn't have to be this exchange of money or anything. I don't have to like make sure that I can cover my mortgage and things like that. So I want people to be able to have art and to experience art. So
Awesome, awesome. Now, you did bring up that you were in bands and or
Mhm.
are in bands. I know that you're in Maple Stave and Ice Cream Larry. Does the music influence your drawing art, or vice versa?
um I don't know that it does. It's Yeah, I'm not sure that the music does. I know that when I try to combine the two, I actually was just thinking about this today, that when I try to combine the two, when I like have to put when I have to make a poster for Maple Stave, um, or like I had to put Ice Cream Larry on a poster not too long ago, and there was this weird pressure where I didn't know. I felt like it needed to be a different thing because it had the band name. I know that like it used to be more of a thing where I would just kind of let the like I would think about our songs, and I would let that sort of play into what I was doing, uh and well, we do stuff that's sort of loud and angular and chaotic, and so I want to try and figure out a way to make that come across in a poster in some sort of visual sense. And now it like carries some sort of weird weight to it where I I almost want to like when I'll see a poster that I've done with our name on it, I'm like I I kind of just want to take our name off of it, so I don't feel like I need to. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but yeah, it's so now I think and it could just be because of it, like not being able to. I've been able to make lots of art over the last 2 years, but haven't been able to play a lot of music, and maybe it just makes me think too much of that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I I tend to like try and keep them fairly divided. But I that said, like the a lot of times when I'm sitting there working on a drawing, like something will come into my head and like, well, that I got to remember that for later. That that little riff, and see if I can noodle that out when I get done. So,
Awesome. And one last question for you. Is there any advice or words that you can give to the young artists?
oh,
Or
yeah, yeah, you have to you I don't know. It feels cliche to say that you have to stick with it, but you just have to stick with it. And um, I think that a really important thing that uh, that I didn't think about as much until like the last couple of years. Uh, it's really important to be true to yourself, and again, that it feels cliche to say that, but if if you busy yourself with trying to make stuff that that you hope will appeal to other people rather than what you feel and what like it might sound corny or but what I have inside of me that I need to get out, that's in my head, that I see, that I want to share with other people. if I try to censor that or change that, you know, to make it so it's more palatable for people, what that does to your art is it it sort of masks it. It gives it this weird tension that you can tell that there's something there that's trying to get out, but it's been restrained. And I think that if you don't just give it your all, if you don't give yourself to it, give yourself over to it, then you're almost doing a disservice to your audience, because you're not being fully honest. And so I think that it's really important to just what you have to say, what you have to show people through your art is unique to you, even though like you might be trying to say or share something that thousands of other people feel and are trying to share as well, but you have a unique take on it because of who you are. Even if it might align with all these other people, it's totally unique, and that's really beautiful and it's wonderful. And the more that we can get that out into the world, then I think that it makes the world a much better place, because we can see that that you know there are all these takes on it, that we're all experiencing the same thing in a wildly different way, and that's just really cool. So yeah, just be honest with your art. Yeah, just be honest with your art.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you.